Hi everybody, so we're back from earlier. Last episode we went ahead and got a few different things kind of working on. We mainly just kind of warmed up and did random things, just able to test. But we did get the medium missile implemented, and we did get it kind of working in a way that we can actually test it in game, so that way we kind of know what we're doing so far when it comes to the next few steps. Now, the plan is, in this episode really quickly, to do the medium launcher, or at least convert the standard launcher to accept doing various other things. Now, this is going to be a multi-step process. It's not straightforward to just make it work. We actually are going to have to take a little bit of time to do what it is we plan to do. Now, we have a few options when we go to implement this. A, we could just straight out convert the standard launcher, or B, we can make ourselves another launcher that is capable of working with this. Now, the thing with the standard launcher is there's not a lot of actually going on with it that is super unique to just the standard launcher. Once you remove like the crafting system and you remove the rendering, it is pretty much just the same as the silos with just a slight offset of rendering. So there's not a lot really going on. Actually, even to add to this, there's a lot of stuff that exists that isn't even used anymore. So we're actually going to sit here and just clean up a little bit. So I want to get rid of this guy, but I'm going to have to actually extend a hierarchy up here. So that way I can get rid of this. Actually, before we get rid of that, I want to move everything a package up. And then get rid of the abstract launchpad. That way, if we are going to make this just a launcher for everything, then we do want to go ahead and take a little bit of different approach to make it function. Additionally, since we did move this, we actually are going to have to come down here to the launcher and change the location of the launcher. And that'll work there, so that'll get us a good start. And let's see what we broke. If it actually rebuilds. So it'll take us again to rebuild here, and yeah. Also, a side note while we're waiting on this, I actually got some new glasses here, so I may be slightly disorientated on top of the fact I got bitten by something on the way to get glasses, so see, hopefully I don't have any ill effects from that, but it's a little uncomfortable and more than what you would normally expect from a bug bite, so I'm concerned if whatever bit me may have actually been more than just your normal bug. Worst case scenario, because I do live in Ohio, it's probably just a wolf spider that probably bit me is what I'm thinking it is. Or I'm having a slight allergic reaction or something, which will go away on its own here in a couple hours. But yeah, so this will rebuild. We'll then fix whatever errors. I already know there's an error somewhere in here, but when I open the package up, oh, there we go, we found it. Oh. Yeah, this just affects the labels. So we just need to change this to tile standard launcher, and that should work. That's probably what the errors are in like all the locations. It's all just GUI stuff probably. Yep. I need to merge these two GUIs together so we don't have like separate GUIs for everything, because a lot of this code is recyclable. I also need to make the launcher interface driven. So instead of going is an instance of an actual class, we can go, okay, are you an instance of an interface, and that way people can make their own launcher code. Okay, so I think we're good, because I think those are the only two errors. So if we pop it over here, then yeah, it's gone. So we're good. Now we can, yeah, let's go ahead and launch and make sure the launcher still functions and loads in properly. We didn't break anything else. And then we'll kind of think of how we want to do this. Now I know the missile is 16 blocks tall, so I guess we just program it to do 16 frames would be a good start. And then for it to generate a multi-block structure, it's a little bit larger. That's going to be the tricky part, is that means we're going to have to differentiate between multi-block structures, and right now the multi-block code is listener driven. So if you see right here, listener driven, that makes things complicated. And the reason I say that is these are not designed to do what I want them to do, and I'm going to have to fix it to do that. So with our multi-block listener, if we do plan to utilize a few different things, we're going to have to actually create some more code here. What crashed? Okay, so it looks like we missed something in here. Oh yeah, we missed the tile class here. Okay. Simple mistake. Okay, let's go ahead and launch that. But yeah, so multi-block code, so we're going to have to do like metadata maybe. That's what I'm thinking might be the best approach. But if we do that, then we are going to have two separate tile classes. If we just do a tile class, a single tile class, then we got to figure out some way to get the multi-block code to recognize that there are several different subtypes, which is complicated. I think the best option may be just to metadata drive it. That would be the quickest approach, and it would allow us to feed data a lot faster to the client. We are going to need a GUI on this thing. That way we can actually select crafting recipes and a few other things. Because you can craft the missiles using the launchers. It's a temporary thing right now, but I'm probably just going to leave it there. I'm never going to remove it unless I absolutely think it's necessary. So then what means we're going to have to find a way that we can pick what recipe you're trying to craft. So we have to figure out, okay, I want to craft this missile, I want to craft this missile, because I want to be able to also be able to put small missiles onto the launchers eventually. That way you don't have to just use the silos all the time. And I'm trying to make the code as recyclable, and not just the code, the content itself recyclable as possible. That way you don't have to have a whole bunch of specialized machinery to do the same task. You just pull out the same block and it does a little bit of everything. Yeah, this is going to be tricky. Especially the multi-block stuff. This is, yeah. I actually need to program a rotatable system for the multi-blocks. Plus the bounds don't even work properly. So it looks like it loaded up, so it hasn't crashed from our changes there. That bug bite's really irritating. Okay, so let's see. We should already have a launcher set up somewhere. Here's some of the missiles we tested last time. You're still floating in the air. Why are you still floating in the air? Actually, hold on, let me check. Oh yeah, it's working just fine. That's probably floating in the air for the simple fact that it has no velocity. These are velocity-driven systems. Where did I place that launcher at? Because I know we were testing here a few seconds ago. Okay, so we got a couple craters around here. Okay, there's a big crater. I feel like I'm getting close to... Yeah, right here. So this is where we were testing earlier. So this is kind of what we're going to go for with what the launcher is going to be set up as. So it's going to be very similar to the standard, which the standard is working really just perfectly fine. So we didn't break anything in the process. We want to make sure we're always testing that. So now we got to figure out what we're doing with this. I think I just need to build a whole new block for this. But that wouldn't be appropriate. And if I multi-roll this, then calling it a standard launcher... Well, actually, I could still call it a standard launcher, it just wouldn't be based on the size anymore, so that'll work. So now we just need to make a metadata system here. So we're going to go, okay, metadata, we'll say 0. And then we just need to program our listener. which is built into the core here. As I try to mentally function here, I've gone with way little to sleep the last couple of days, and it is finally catching up with me. See how long we can probably keep this stream going. I would say if no one shows up in the stream, we'd carry it the normal hour. Hopefully somebody does actually show up. So let's look. So there's multi-block listener. So we do have various things. So all we just really need to do is put some processor data here. Save myself some time by just lazy initializing it. So int go meta check, and we'll initialize it to -1, so that way it doesn't have any metadata. We don't have any methods for this, so you notice these are just kind of initialized variable. A lot of the other stuff I have shown isn't done via meta checks. Now this is a problem. I haven't really thought this through before. So we have like two options of what I think we could do with this, and the normal consensus option, if when you run into a case where you do a meta check, is we would just encapsulate literally everything with a metadata check and go, okay, make meta, make meta, make it meta for this. But I have a better option, and this is more flexible, because what I can do with the iBlock listener is we can then make... Actually, hold on, we got an even better option here. So we do tile listener here, tile event listener, and then we just do something like this: default boolean is valid for tile, and then we just return true. So what we do with this is we go, okay, if we have metadata, then we actually utilize it. And then once we get this set up, there's actually a way we're going to check for this. So we're going to go, okay, meta check equals -1, or get block meta equals meta check. I feel like I probably should do a meta ranged for this too, but a meta check is a good start. Because worst case scenario, if somebody really needs a lot of meta, they could just copy and paste this repeatedly for the moment. Or I can implement a for loop later. For loop wouldn't be something that would be too difficult to do and allow you to repeatedly lay out settings for a lot of metadata values. Oh, you know what? We use metadata for rotation, don't we? At least I think we do. We're going to have to take a look at that real quick, because that's actually a really big concern. So tile standard launcher, iRotation. We do have a forge direction cache. Yeah, so we use our metadata for rotation. So that limits our ability of what we can actually do. So we could try to use metadata. We would just have to restructure how our metadata functions. Meaning we would have to do a various set of things. So I'm going to say this uses the classic Minecraft rotation system, which is used by a lot of tiles. So that means it's using values such as 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then 0 and 1 would be up and down, which is not used by the direction system. At least not this type. So that means we got a little bit of a range of metadata being used. And it's going to be... yeah, we're going to have to find a different way to do this. So I want to continue using the multi-block listener because it is really useful. we do with this? So there's another option. So you can make something called a content use key. By the way, I think I have to do like type equals int for this real quick. I almost forgot about that. Or this would have crashed. So this would be content ID or content use ID. Yeah, we'll change it to ID though. So set this to null. And the idea behind this would be, okay, you would specify a content ID that would exist in order for this listener to be used. So you go, okay, this needs to be a standard launcher for it to be the standard launcher multi-block, but then if it's a medium launcher, then it's a different multi-block set. So that way we'd have a separate usage here. The problem is I don't know how to figure out how to get this to work. So we go if content use ID doesn't equal null, then we would go, okay, tile, or is it node? No, we would have to do tile ID. Actually, is there a get multi-host? Yeah, I see, okay. So we got tile ID, but how are we going to get the content ID? I think I can go, okay, if tiles instance of I JSON gen object, I can then grab the content ID off that. I want to say all nodes are an instance of this. So let's work our way up the chain here. iTile node, iTile description, packet placement data. I will position iSafe. It's iTile, which is an iMod object. So we can use the mod object, which is content type. We get unique content off this. So we can go, okay, if an instance of iMod object, then we can figure out what our content ID is. So we can go, okay, if tile.get, it's going to make me encapsulate it. iMod object tile dot unique content ID equals, and then content use ID. Return true. And then what we want to do is, okay, if that doesn't work, we're going to go, okay, if tiles instance of iTile node host, then we want to do the same exact thing with it. We actually want to go in tile.get node is an instance of iMod object. And we put this down here, and then we just take this little piece here, and then we replace tile with that. And that should work. Oh, it looks like I forgot that that is actually, this would always be true. So actually what we want to do is set this to not equal. So this will function, and we can use the content ID of the node itself. This means we will need a node per launcher type, which means we probably want to go ahead and throw stuff back into their individual packages again. This means we will actually end up creating some abstract data though, and we'll have to toy around with a few different things. Actually, you know, we don't need a unique node. What we actually can end up doing is making a subtype system, maybe. Yeah, I feel like there's a better way to do this, because this should not change. Because this is like a content group. This is like saying, okay, this is everything that it is. what would be a good way? I feel like I do have a system already for this. JSON render state provider. I think I just need to make a new interface for it called iTile state provider. Actually, you know what? We'll use the content ID system. It's weird, but it's kind of okay because the content ID system isn't really meant to be used for anything. It's just I implemented it so I can identify content pretty easily. The block would have a certain piece of content ID for it, and then yeah, this will take over part. Actually, we didn't even check the block yet, so it would go else if get block, and we want to actually catch this. mod object. They want to go ahead and do the same thing with it. That way you could use this to identify the block, although that feels kind of stupid. But say, for example, you did have some unique way to transition this, or I can't think of a legit reason. I'm going to actually just remove this because I can't think of a legitimate reason why you would have a content ID that would change in the block at runtime, because that should be static. Your content IDs really should be static. The only reason I'm going to let a tile do it is because a tile can dynamically change its state, and it makes sense for a tile to dynamically change its state, but it does not make sense for a block to, because blocks are static. So your block data is static, your item data is static. The only thing that's not static is the exact instance at a location, which you can only mess with the metadata or the tile. So the tile can be changed, and of course we already have a meta check here. So let's go ahead and implement the tile side of this, and that will be modifying the unique ID. Which is down here. So good thing I didn't finalize this, or we wouldn't be able to do that either. So what is our ID anyways? We didn't exactly keep this file open, which I should have. So we got this. Oh, launcher.standard. So now we need some way to differentiate. I actually really feel like I probably should make a new node for each one of these. Because we do have some unique crafting code for this stuff. Yeah, let's make a new node for each one of these. It'll be a pain in the butt, but actually no, we can't do that because we don't have a way to differentiate the nodes. So yeah, we are stuck doing it this way. I hate to do it this way. I might have to come back through here and completely recode these later, but I don't see another way to do this. So we're gonna need a way to figure out what our type is. And I want to let small missiles be launched with this. The small missile will be a 2-block tall system. And then the standard, of course, will be the normal 5. And when I'm talking about block height, I'm talking about the frames on top of the CPU, not the CPU. If you include the CPU, then it would be 3 and 6. And then, of course, it would be 17 for the... Actually, I might just make it 18. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So we need a differentiation state. I'll just go ahead and make an enum for this. Enums are always a great way to do this. So go ahead and do... I don't know if I want to do a micro, because it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, we won't support micros. So small, standard, medium. You know, actually, let's just do this. Delete that. Let's not make a new enum. We're just going to do this way. So go public missile size, missile size. So we'll base everything off missile size. And then, yeah, because that'll work the best here, because then we can just do your ID actually equals the launcher and then plus the size. So plus missile size dot name dot to lowercase. And then we'll default this to missile size dot standard because by default that's what that is. And we're going to just have to do a whole bunch of work to get this to function properly now. We don't have to mess with the multi-block stuff at all because it looks like this is not hard-coded at all. The stuff that is hard-coded, of course, is the size. So this is going to be interesting. Standard launcher height. Launcher part listener. Oh, this is fun. Okay, so I gotta recode this entire thing here. And there's a lot of hard-coded values. This needs to be moved somewhere else. Don't I have an API here that contains all the blocks now? Yes, I do. Block launcher frame, public static block. What is this looking for? Standard launcher. Okay, so I'm going to go ICBM underscore API dot block standard launcher. Okay, so that'll cache it there. That way I don't have to sit here and keep re-looking it up inside of a table to get it every single time. So that's cached. Oh, so I gotta do translation keys for a lot of stuff. The big thing is we just kind of have to figure out what the height is. So we got the count. And then we would go, okay, if count equals standard launcher height. And if count does not, we... Yeah, so we actually want to go... Yeah, so these keys down here are junk. And what we want to do, so we're going to go, okay, detected. So we're going to go, okay, micro requires 1, small 2, standard 5, medium 18. Actually, 17. It'll be 18 tall, but it'll be 17 frames. Then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just make some values for this. So standard launcher, so we'll go, okay, micro launcher is 1. I'm actually going to add it even though it'll be stupid, it just might as well. Just won't probably have any practical use. And the medium will be 17. And what we'll do is we'll go, okay, yeah. Actually, you know what, we're just going to let this go to the top of the map. So we'll go like, if it's less than 255, which is the top. Yeah, that's good, good count. Prevent issues, clear the blocks from the side of the tower. Now here's where things get really interesting. Is once we figure out what we actually are, we're gonna have to recalculate a lot of things. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna make a sub method for this because that's the best way to do this. Protected boolean is path clear. So I'm gonna go pause start int height. Then what else do we want? We're gonna want to tell it what missile size we are technically. I can determine that from the heights. That's not a problem. And we're going to want to loop through things. So for int I equals 0, I is less than height, I plus plus. And then we just kind of want to do detection thing here. So if by default we're just doing most things, then we just kind of want to do it this way. Is there a side system here? Yeah, there's a side. So inside. So there's some rotation involved in this. And of course there's a player, so we want to make sure that's in there too. Entity, player. There we go. So this will work for most heights. Now what we want to do is I'm going to go, okay, if height equals medium launcher, this is where the fun happens. This is where we got to spend some time checking for a lot of things. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because this is going to be so bizarre. Is that we're just going to do something like this. Boolean failed equals false. So I'm going to go, okay, if failed. Actually, we're going to do opposite of failed. So we got our location here. And we're going to go, okay, failed equals if pause dot is error. So if you're not an error block, then yeah. Actually, also what we want to do with this is use the pause location for this, so our starting point, which will be one block above. So that's our starting point. The reason I'm doing separation for the two of these is that technically we actually need to do a slightly different pattern for the medium, and it's much easier if I can just do something like this and do a for loop. X is less than 3, X plus plus. Because this is going to take a little bit of testing to get it to work properly. Okay, and then what we're going to do is go, okay, if this is not an error block, then we want to go failed equals true. Actually, what we want to do just here is go return false. Yeah. Actually, you know what? We're just going to return false anytime soon. We want to do this here. So I'm going to go, if this isn't an error block, return false. Then we want to return true down at the bottom so everything's good. And then we want to take this guy, bring him up to here. And we would go, okay, is path clear, player, side, actually side's the last thing. So go count. And then new pause, XY, Actually, I think I could do, no, we'll do xi, yi, ci, and then we'll do +1. That'd be quick. So that works. So we go, okay, if path is not clear, which is what we actually want the opposite, then we want to go, okay, return true, because we can't do the action. To prevent issues, clear the blocks from the side of the tower that the missile will occupy. Micro, small, and standard need one block. One block. Space is what we're actually going to probably put there. Now with this also, when it comes to the medium launcher, we're actually going to set this up so you can actually pick the size of the pad after it's been created. So that way you can customize your launch pad a little better, because when it comes to visuals, I'm not too much of a fan of having the missile hug directly to the launcher pad for the large one. And I was talking to Alex when he was making this, I'm like, hey, we're probably going to do a 5x5 for this is when we actually do it. Because then it'll look a lot nicer, and then you can actually, this is mainly going to be a fueling tower is what these are actually designed to be. So it'll work out. I actually have to get his fuel system actually implemented here. Actually, I'll do the constant on there. So we got, okay, if something, and how we want to do this is we want to do this in reverse order. So we want to go from largest to smallest. So we want to go, okay, if your height equals medium launcher height, then we do a medium launcher. If not, then we do the next one, and so on and so on. Okay, so now it'll be small, and tab, there we go. And this is going to be micro. Yeah, and this is pretty much what we would go ahead and do. The only difference is when we do the different launcher types and we actually place this guy. As soon as we create this, then we want to go and call get tile entity. Tile equals get tile entity. If tile is instance of iTile node host. Import this because apparently it isn't going to do it automatically for me. Then we want to basically get our node. So tile.get node instance of tile standard launcher, and then we want to go missile size equals missile size dot medium. That's all we want to really do to set the size properly. And then we just kind of rinse and repeat this actually. Actually, you know what? We'll go missile size equals null. I kind of want to simplify the code here real quick and make life a little easier. So we go, okay, if missile size equals null, and I wanted the filled, not the thing. I apparently just got size. Dumb mistake on my part. True. Actually, we don't even need that return true there. No, I'm going to leave it there. That's just a good way to tell our exit condition. And there's a way we can cheat this real quick. So we can go size dot name, and there's a, I gotta think this, the language utility dot capitalize first. And this should result in it acting like it's displaying the correct thing every time. Though when we do the translation keys, we're gonna have to change the trans. Actually, you know what? I probably should just go ahead and translate it. I'll do later. We'll just leave that notation there that it needs to be translated. And then we'll get our size set here. So that saves us a bit of work when it comes to that. Because then all we have to do is each one of these is we just go, okay, size equals missile size dot medium. And then you just repeat this over and over again. I'm going to go ahead and paste this, and then we're going to change it. So this will be standard, small, and then micro. And what we'll call this, we'll call detect size. Error if size not found. Place block and set size. There we go. So this code should work, and it's pretty consistent, so it's not too difficult to understand. I'm gonna have to do like a lot of translations here later. So let me actually make sure I put this up here. Because surprisingly, the most people that actually play this are from Germany. You can imagine. I would say imagine why, but I'm probably wrong on every case. But this will work. And there's a few other things we got to try now. So now we get the fun part of figuring out. What I probably should just do is I probably should just encode into missile size the height of the launcher. Nah. So this is going to break anytime we actually try to build anything other than a standard launcher. So we're going to have to write some code for this. So first things first is this method we figured out we're going to actually want to make this static. Because we're going to recycle this over and over again. Oh, we actually don't need the player for this anymore. That's actually nice. And then we're also going to want to take this method here, and we're going to make a method for it. So public static int get count, pause start, return count. So we're going to start get block world. Of course, this is going to actually be world, pause start. Actually, I can save myself some time here. So get block start.x, start.yi, and start.zi. And then we come down here and we do the same thing except we add count to it. It's a little bit of using old school Minecraft code, but it works out a lot better actually. So this will be called get frame count. And what we'll do up here is we'll go okay, int count equals get frame count world, and then of course we'll go ahead and take this guy right here. And we'll go, okay, pause, frame start, and we'll catch that. That way we have that available for both of these method calls. Saves us a little bit of code runtime there. That'll work, and we'll make that final so we know that it doesn't change. And then we want to go ahead and make another method down here. Public static missile size get size int frame count. Of course, actually, we'll just go change that to count. And then return null. And this will be missile size equals get size count. Frame count. I'm just going to rename a couple variables here real quick so it's a little bit easier to read the code. There we go. get launcher size. And we actually have to go ahead and replace. Actually, let me do this. Selection. And replace with return. There we go. That works out. So that'll be an easy method we can use. And what we're going to do is just come over here and we just recycle a lot of this stuff. Yeah, so we want to get the count here. So we just want to go launcher part listener dot get frame count world, and we want our start position, which is going to be new pause this dot add. Actually, do we have a method called up? I might add that later because that's something that I noticed Minecraft added, which was really cool. That you can just call position and then call up on it, which is really nice. I could have swore we used to have a function like that, but it probably didn't see a lot of use. So we get our count, and then what we want to do is then go missile size equals launcher part listener dot get launcher size count. And then what we want to check is if size does not equal missile size. So if our size doesn't equal the same thing, we just want to break our frame and drop the blocks here. To be honest, we probably really shouldn't drop the block, but we'll come back later to that. Of course, we got our top meta here, so I'm going to say count is a good way to test this. So that'll work. So that fixes our destruction code. Looks like we broke a few things too. Why are you airing out? Oh, because world is not accessible. World. This needs to be public anyways, since we're going to actually toy with that. There we go, and that all looks good. Definitely gonna have to spend some time testing that, but we'll sit here and go down through here and make sure there is nothing else very specialized to the size and stuff. This is some specialized things. So we go missile size equals missile size dot standard. There it goes. So missile size dot standard, and then of course we check our recipe. So this is a recipe handler for standard missile. Of course, we're gonna have one for the medium, but I'm gonna break this off in its own little recipe class here later because it needs to kind of be handled. Actually, to be honest, this is pretty much broken off here. I just have to abstract this to allow you to specify the recipe. Missile launcher offset. This is going to have to change per size. On inventory changed. Yeah, that's fine. Right description packet. Yeah, we're good. Missile fired. Now this is technically I need to work on this. It's actually not a high priority for that one. Let me make sure that isn't doing more than just setting locations on fire. Yeah, it's just setting stuff on fire. Okay. On player activated. Yes, this looks pretty good. So there's not like a lot of stuff that actually has to be done. Now see, the recipe can't get initialized, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. Although we're going to have to spend some time playing with the recipes. First priority, though, is to get the launcher just functioning. We can worry about recipes later. Okay, so now let's get back to doing stuff like this. So switch. To be honest, I probably could figure this out from the missile height. But we're going to just do a switch statement for this. So we're going to go missile size. We'll say like add 20 if it's broken. So case micro. So its offset's literally just going to be 2 because it's only 2 blocks tall. And then so we got micro, small, standard, and medium. Okay, so we have 3 cases. Micro, small, standard, medium. I have this feeling like I once upon a time decided that this was a bad idea, but for some reason I'm just sticking to it, I guess. Yeah, let's actually set these one higher than normal. And the medium is, yeah, 19 will work. It's almost 20. Yeah, that works out fine. So yeah, we got that. So that'll give us our missile offset. So that way we won't have a detonation because a missile spawned itself inside the launcher and blew up. Next thing is can accept missile. And this one is where we want to do a switch statement as well. So where's that statement we were just at? So we'll grab this guy so I don't have to rewrite everything. Actually, you know what? I don't need to do that. What I need to do is go, okay, if this equals our missile size. And that'll work. Then we need to do some load behavior for it. So I'm going to go, okay, if mbt.has key missile size, and then we go missile size equals missile size dot get, and then we'll go mbt.get integer mbt dot, oh yeah, we already do that, so I was like brain failing there for a second. Got that, and then we want to go and set it down here, so we go mbt dot set integer missile size, and then missile size dot ordinal. And that should work. Let me just check to see what this defaults to from metadata. So it defaults to small, so that's acceptable. Surprisingly does not default to micro, which is interesting. But that works out for me pretty well because well, I guess we could support micro anyways, so it's not a big deal. This will actually support all types. We'll do the large launcher 2 here pretty soon, as soon as we get a missile for it. To be honest, I might even just take the medium missile and just stretch it real quick, just so I can test the large launcher and get it pre-initialized. We've got that up, so that's good. We definitely have to do something about the crafting. But everything else about this looks good. Now the problem we're going to have to deal with is the keys, which did we actually fix that yet? Yes, we got the key set up. So we're now going to have to use a use key. So it'd be content use ID. So we'll put this here. And this is going to be launcher.standard. And we're going to have a multi-block per system, which is going to be the tedious part. Yeah, there's no fast way around this. Actually, I probably can make a for loop for this. We may actually visit that here in the next episode of this we do, because this one's I'm going to end here pretty soon unless yeah, nobody showed up to the stream. I actually announced this one ahead of time. I thought maybe if I did that we'd get at least maybe 2 people, but I mean it is a Monday, so I'll continue this throughout the weeks if I can. and then we'll see what happens to people watching the stream. And then again, I am doing boring things. We'll be streaming probably Arc here later and a few different games as well. So it's not like it's going to be nothing but boring code stuff all the time. But yeah. So we got the standard launcher render listener too. So we actually got to recode this guy and do a few different things with him. But here's our 4 different states right now. So we got micro, small, standard, medium. And then what we got to do is come down here and just play around with the multi-blocks. This is where I was talking about a for loop would be really nice for this, as it is pretty repeat. Yeah, so actually we'll go ahead and do a for loop on the next thing, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and we'll be back here tomorrow to continue working on the launcher and get everything tested up to actually get this guy fully functional and not just faked out where I've got a little decorative block down here to render it. But yeah.